My name is Rayne Grant, and I'm a mycologist. I've been studying fungi for about 11 years now, and I got started because, well, I asked the universe, "Hey, universe, what do I need to align myself with?" Because I really was not feeling fulfilled in life in general. And I knew there was more to life than just being an at-home mom and having a husband that traveled around and just kind of doing the museum thing and stuff. It's beautiful. It's beautiful, but I just felt like there was something more to my purpose. And, Gary Linkoff says, quit your job, for mushrooms. That's kind of what I did. I mean, I didn't quit my job. I just created my own job. So anyway, yay, my sister showed up. So I'm a researcher. I go down these rabbit holes, and once I get interested in a topic, I want to find out everything I can about it. And I was looking online. I started having these visions, these dreams about like a desert oasis, like that kind of sounds interesting, right? So I just started Google searching desert oases, and I'm like, okay, like beautiful. There's man-made ones, there's naturally occurring ones. And it just led me down this rabbit hole. I found that people were growing soil around desert oases, and I was intrigued. Then I found out there was a thing called desertification, and I was like, what's going on? Our planet's turning into a desert, and seeing that people were reversing desertification and whatnot. And so just started researching some of these things, getting really excited. And I came across a TED Talk. You probably have seen it. If you haven't, you should. It is called 6 Ways That Mushrooms Can Help Save the World by Paul Stamets. And it's about 18 minutes long. If you haven't seen it, I highly suggest watching it. It came out about 11 years ago. 12 years ago. And I watched this TED Talk, and a light bulb went on in my head. And I was like, wait, what? Mushrooms can do what? And so I just started researching, and I found that there were way more than 6 ways that mushrooms can help us, right? So I just started researching, and I decided, I was living down in Shreveport, Louisiana at the time, due to the film industry. And I used to live in Telluride, Colorado. How many people here have been to the Telluride Mushroom Festival? Yeah? Yeah, it's like, I think this is like their 44th year or something like that. And I used to live in Telluride, and I knew not Paul Stamets, I'm sorry, Art Goodtime. Shout out Art in the ethers. He says he's here in spirit. And so I went up there with the intention to get as many interviews as possible, in one location. I was like, I'll just go to the experts. And I was reaching out to people, and people were really, really open and excited to share information with me. And I just started talking to all the experts in their field. Mycology is the study of fungi. And there are so many different topics within that realm, whether you're farming, whether you're doing permaculture, whether you're tincturing and you're trying to heal yourself, or, trying to get high or whatever. But there are so many different facets to this. And I was just like, wow. I started going down as many rabbit holes as I could. And I started taking mushrooms. I started with chaga. I took psilocybin for the first time in like 20 years, and suddenly my brain was like on fire. And it has become a sponge, quite frankly. And so I just try to fill it with as much information and then disseminate it, or regurgitate it, so to speak, so that it is more palatable, So anyway, I've been working on this documentary for a decade, which is I'm like, that's a lot. But I just recently talked to a couple of guys. I'm trying to think of the name of their documentary they just came out with. It's a psychedelia, that's the one, psychedelia. And they said it took them 10 years, and that was with funding and all the things. So I've been mainly self-funded. I have gotten funding for portions of my documentary. I've traveled around, going on site, getting interviews, and I'm sitting on a plethora of information right now in video form. But it's going to come together. It's coming together. But in the meantime, sorry, let's see if it'll let me scroll normally. All right. So I have been traveling around the country, speaking at as many festivals and events that I can that will include me. I'm trying to get the message of the mushrooms out there, so to speak. I guess you know, I'm not a religious person, but I do believe in the mushrooms. Yeah, if you haven't been to the Fungus Fair in Sonoma County, I've been there. Sonic Bloom Festival, Jumpsuit Family Gathering, the One Vibration Festival, again with the Sonoma County. Lucidity Festival, I just got to go there. There were over 100 people in attendance, and I was just like, I almost started crying. I'm like, wow, people are really interested in mushrooms right now. When I began this journey, when I would talk to people, they thought I was crazy, and people would refer to me as like the crazy mushroom lady, and I'm like, okay, I don't feel like I'm crazy. You know, I guess one man's crazy is another one's sane, right? Yeah, Southwest Funga Fest, really, really impressed by how it's come together and what they're trying to achieve and their vision and all of that. I have started a nonprofit organization I'm based out of Durango, Colorado area. And I started the Psychedelic Club of Durango. And I have a little booth back here, just in case you guys didn't see it. I set up a little, well, it's more of a lounge. I made a little lounge. We have some books and stuff in there. But basically, it's a nonprofit, and our mission is to kind of demystify the subject of psychedelics. And so I founded that in 2018, and we have a really beautiful board of directors. Several of my board members are here. Thank you, Badi, for showing. And thank you, Anthony. And Jenny, you're a silent member. I just appointed you. I'm also the owner of the Colorado Mushroom Company. I started that mushroom business because I was making tinctures and things like that for my family. And people wanted to buy them from me. And I was like, well, okay, like I'll mass produce them and sell them. And I put a lot of witchiness into it. So I will tell you that I am very, very science-based, but I'm also very intuitive-based. So I like to study the science of things and also the historical usages. And intuition is a really powerful tool, something that we need to tap more into. Our feelings about things are pretty spot on. Colorado mushroom. Okay. I also have an educational group called the Four Corners Mycological Society. If you'd like to join it, we have a Facebook group, and it's an educational group. It's foraging in the Four Corners area. I love foraging. I love wild foraging. So we have. This will be our 4th year to have an annual event up on Lizard Head Pass. And if you don't know where that's at, it's near Telluride. So the last weekend in August, we're going to be having our 4th annual gathering. It is renegade style, so it's on a national forest. We usually have less than 100 people in attendance. We have, foraging and speakers in the day, and at night, live music, DJs, and lasers and things, the fun stuff. It's my idea of a party. Four Corners Mycological Society. All right. So I've got this little JBL speaker here. We'll do this. What? Don't do that. You're connected. You know you are. We're all connected. All right. Is it gonna play?
Do you think mushrooms can save the world?
I have any idea. I haven't given it a moment's thought.
Do you think mushrooms can save the world?
Not offhand, no. I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, I can't think of a reason how they would.
No.
Possibly.
Like, what type of mushrooms are we talking about?
I actually don't know anything about mushrooms.
So, that was basically the response I got when I first started this mission of disseminating information. People are like, mushrooms? Are you crazy? Maybe. Maybe a little. So, yes. So we'll just kind of hop into this. So this is a lot of information I'm going to share with you guys, and it's really, really good for beginners or people who just want to learn a little bit more. And this is just to give you a taste of many different topics. each of these topics that I'm going to go over, I could go down I could talk about for hours, but this is just to touch base on many things. So during this discussion, we're going to talk about many of the epidemics that our planet's facing and what people are doing globally to kind of face them using fungi. And, fungi are integral in so many things. So I like to refer to fungi as, the queendom of fungi. A lot of people, say it's a kingdom, but come on now. I refer to it as a queendom because it's fun and because it is the beginning stages of all life as far as I can tell. Fungi and bacteria, they are quite interesting creatures. So there are millions of different fungi. I think about 100,000 have been identified at this point. It is said that the largest living organism on the planet is a fungi. They say it's the honey mushroom. There's a big mat. It's like about 4 square miles long. I beg to differ. I did a discussion, and Paul Stamets came to one of my talks, and I'm like, because he always says it's the biggest, it's the biggest living organism. Does anyone here know the biggest aspen organism? Because those trees are like one big organism. So I bet I don't know, and so I wonder if there's one that's larger than 4 square.
One colony in Utah that's considered the largest.
Do you know how big it is?
200 square miles, I think.
Really? Okay, a few hundred square miles as one big organism. So maybe that's the largest organism. But then you could say, oh, I guess there's mycorrhizal fungi on those too. So, who's to say? I like to think it's a big fungal mass. That's a beautiful picture by Amanda Sage. I just got to meet her, you guys. I was like a starstruck fangirl. But she did a talk at a Sonic Bloom Festival, and I hold space. I'm a festival producer, and I also bring workshops. I like to focus on bringing workshops and education to some of these bigger festivals and events. And she's really, really tied into the fungi, and so it was really neat kind of chatting with her and getting to know her. All right, our planet is facing many, many issues right now. It can really stress us out, right? From starvation to desertification, our plastic overload, toxic oil spills, water toxicity, heavy metals in our soil, diseases, cancers and things, housing, people are homeless out there. Our bees are dying, radiation poisoning. Gosh, I could go on and on, but we can focus on the negativity or we can focus on answers to each of these issues. There are a lot more than just these that I can go over, but we're going to go over a few of them. So, and this is to get you excited about fungi. I can only assume that everyone here is already excited about fungi, right? Who here likes fungi? All the fungi and the fungals. Thank you. This is so refreshing. I love being around my fungal sisters and brothers. So about 420 million years ago, there were some creatures called prototaxites. They were terrestrial fossil fungi, and they were about 26 feet high. You can kind of just imagine these giant fungal creatures, and they're pretty much just like lichen. If you're familiar with what lichen do, they're a symbiotic blend of different organisms that come together to create a new creature, right? We have cyanobacteria, we have algae, and we have fungi. And there are so many different types of lichen out there. There's actually a whole lichenology. And maybe when I'm old and gray, I'll be like studying the lichen, taking little pictures. They're so beautiful. But they basically break down rocks, right? They break down rocks and turn them into soil. So it's thought that these prototaxites, they broke down rock and created soil so that plants could survive today. We would not have our planet would not be a green planet if it weren't for these fungal creatures and others. It's taken millions and millions of years to create this. And it is my thought that this happens on rocky planets throughout the universe or universes. Lichen, they're so pretty. Has anyone here eaten a lichen? Have you You know, some of them are edible. Yeah, some of them actually taste like seafood and whatnot. Yeah, it's a whole other discussion, but it's pretty amazing. All right, I've got another video here. All right.
420 million years ago, a giant rose along the riverbanks of what would become North America. It feasted on the dead, growing slowly into the largest living thing on land. This towering colossus wasn't animal, plant, or mineral. Instead, it belonged to an unlikely group of pioneers that ultimately made life on land possible: the fungi. If you're anywhere in...
All right, the fungi and the fungals. You know, you got to give those fungals a little bit of credit here. All right, so we're going to start with our first epidemic, starvation. All right, well, everyone knows that we can eat mushrooms. It was said like 20 years ago or something that they were devoid of nutrients, that they weren't, you know, they're just basically empty food, right? But now we've found that they're just filled with all sorts of vitamins and minerals and protein, really, really good protein. And there are people who are going into different areas that are devoid of protein or are low on food, and teaching the locals how to grow mushrooms, not only to eat, but to also feed their family by making money and selling. What was his name? Robert Rogers. Who's here familiar with Robert Rogers? So I love this man. He's like a mentor of mine. I look up to him, and I got an amazing interview from him in Telluride. And he was talking about how he was going to Ethiopia and teaching some of the women there how to grow their own mushrooms, and then they're selling them at market. I just think that's just phenomenal. We have Trad Cotter, who is doing a similar thing. I have another little video snippet here. But Trad, if you are not familiar with him, definitely look him up. He is one of the leaders in these things, and he was going to Haiti, and I got a great interview from him as well. So what he was telling me is that when he was teaching the locals to grow mushrooms, that many of the adults wouldn't even eat the mushrooms because they have a lot of fungophobia out there. And so even though they're like needing food, they were closed-minded to eating the mushrooms. They're only growing like oyster mushrooms, and he was getting fed up. And he was like very frustrated, and he said he just got all this stuff, and he's leaving this residence that he was staying at, and all the kids surrounded him and were like, "Where are you going? Don't leave," you know. And so he was like, "Oh, it's the kids that need to learn." So he started teaching the kids how to grow fungi on cardboard, because you can take a substrate and layer it and whatnot and put it in a mason jar and start growing fungi. So I was like, yeah, the kids are the future for real.
My name is Trad Cotter. Part of what we do here at Mushroom Mountain is experiment with different methods of mushroom cultivation. We are a mushroom cultivation research company trying to raise funds for a project down in Haiti. Our goal is to use this Kickstarter to bring mushroom cultivation to a culture and a society that needs food, that needs clean water, to teach this skill and this process to every villager, every child, every student in the agricultural program in Conj and Corporon. So this is our plan. Step one, we have the tools and the resources to get down there and start teaching the children in the village how to perpetuate this cardboard culture technique, and then take those cardboard cultures and expand them even further. Every piece of cardboard can be sandwiched 2 weeks later to double and triple the biomass, enough to make more spawn or enough to make pounds and pounds of mushrooms. Every little piece of cardboard can be doubled in every...
So to me, this kind of news is like the news I want to hear. This gives me hope. Get our children feeding society, and it's like not just mushrooms, it's farming, it's gardening, it's all of the things. So when I hear things like this, I get excited. I'm on fire. And I'm like, if I'm on fire about it, that means it's important. And I feel like this is really important to pay attention to and share. So Save the planet. No. Okay. So yeah, grow your own. You can grow your own mushrooms. You can grow them in your greenhouse. You can grow them. You can go to your local farmer's market or health food store and get these little grow kits. And then you can also, go in the woods and wild forage. But fungi are a really, really good food source. I've got William on here. Yeah. So I know. I was like, oh, am I going to be embarrassed because I put William on here? He's here. So, William is our cordyceps expert. If you didn't catch his talk, incredibly brilliant. And
Hey everybody, it's William Brown coming
He's
at
a
you
baby.
from Symbiotics. And
He's a
we're looking
baby.
at our cordyceps that we've been isolating over the past couple years. We've been working here at Symbiotics in New Cumberland on developing lots of commercial cordyceps strains as we've developed this handbook here to be able to educate people on how to grow cordyceps and then provide them with strains that will be able to fruit.
So he does. I think he has a second version. Do you have a third version now? No, just two?
Want to revise.
All right, he's got a revised one. So, yep, you can shout out to William. There's his cordyceps. See, I made this when he had the first volume. This is, I need to update this talk. Jeez. You can forage for wild mushrooms. Here we have Morchella esculente, which is the blonde morel. If you're not familiar with that, it's delightful, really hard to find. We have, to the right, we have Sarcodon imbricatus, which is hawk's wings. They grow in the mountains here, and they are one of my absolute favorites. They're a toothed mushroom, and they can get really big. Very, very exciting to find. Chanterelles, our Cantharellus. We have a Rosio canis here in the mountains. Chanterelle mushroom fondue. Braised chicken of the woods. What? Lobster mushroom risotto. Black trumpet mushroom pizza. Okay, now wait a minute. Candy cap cheesecake with chanterelle caramel sauce and candied porcini. Stop playing with my emotions. I wish we had candy cap here in the Four Corners. You have to go to the Pacific Northwest to get those. They're really delightful and taste like maple syrup. Pumpkin ice cream with chunks of candy cap. Okay, stop. Just stop it. All right. I know, I'm getting hungry. Oh, come on now. Oh, there we go.
Not even one night. Oh my God.
Okay. Oh, yes. Okay. Do something kind of crazy.
That's good.
Oh my God. Oh my God. All right, I hope you guys like to eat mushrooms. So that was the Soma camp. They're called the mushroom camps. They're in Occidental, California, North Cali. And I think they've been doing it for about 40 years. They've flown me out a couple of years to do presentations out there. Really sweet group of people. And if you get a chance to go there, if you're into food, they're really into mushrooms and cheese. And I'm talking like tables of cheese. It's ridiculous. I'm like, what? You guys like to eat? William again. Geez, I must like this guy. All right.
Hey guys, William P.D. Brown, and we're coming to you live from the Telluride Mushroom Festival 2017.
2017?
Lizards Pass, and we are hunting the king bolete. Look at this porcini. There's not even that much bug damage on it at all. Yeah, so this is the prime reason that we're here. Foraging at least. We're looking for porcini and chanterelle, aka pettibun. This is the Boletus rubriceps. One of the telltale signs is the reticulation or the netting along the stems there, and then that wonderful burgundy.
So exciting. So when you're up in the woods foraging and you find mushrooms, it's like, I just get so excited. It's like I'm a kid in a candy store. And my sister got addicted to it too.
Especially when they're not buggy.
Especially when they're not buggy. So this is the area that my Four Corners Mycological Society has the annual event. And so we're praying for some rain. We want our monsoons to come so that it's kind of neat because you'll just have mushrooms at your feet. It's very, can be prolific. Geez, I don't know if I should show all these videos. Geez. Oh, but we will. This is my basket's perspective. If I was a mushroom in a basket, it would be fun. All right. Yeah, if you can't tell, I get excited about mushrooms. So learning how to wild forage for fungi is actually not as scary as some people think. I can only assume that most people here are not afraid of mushrooms, but there is widespread fungophobia. People are like absolutely terrified of even touching a wild mushroom. They're like, it's gonna kill me or something. But you know, in case you didn't know, even the toxic mushrooms, if you touch them, for the most part, they're not going to hurt you. I think there's one fungi that's been found, I want to say in Thailand, Japan, that'll burn your skin if you touch it. So, you know, we'd like to say that we know about these fungal creatures, but as soon as we kind of put our finger on it, it's like they surprise us. They're surprising. So yeah, wild foraging. Ooh, here's a fun little clip here. Who here likes ear mushrooms? Jelly mushrooms. They are so sweet. They make me excited too. I get excited by mushrooms, you guys.
They're so good for minutes.
They're just so good for a lot of things. And they're really good in soup, and they're just fun, you know? They look like little ears. So if you find them, they are highly medicinal. All right, so starvation. We can combat starvation by growing fungi. I'm not saying this is the only answer. These at least it's an answer, okay? There is no one answer to anything. So another epidemic that our planet is facing is desertification. And desertification is like, it's huge. I would say it's our biggest epidemic. I mean, it can cause starvation, but our deserts on the planet are expanding, and we are in the 6th mass extinction right now, and it is being caused by humanity and mismanagement of how we're running things. And I really, really don't believe that I have so much hope and optimism for the future, and I believe that we can soothe desertification. I think we can soothe a lot of these epidemics using fungi. So our deserts are spreading, you know, we're clear cutting, our deserts are encroaching on our spaces, and there are people doing things globally to like kind of edge back in that. There are people planting all sorts of forests, food forests. John Dennis Liu, if you're not familiar with him, check him out. He has the I'm trying to think of the name of his documentary. I believe it's Green Gold, if you haven't seen it. And he goes to the Laos Plateau in China, and he gets like $10 million from the World Bank. And the locals there, I mean, it's like devastated. They let their goats eat everything, and when it rains, the rains hit the ground and run all of the soil into the rivers, and it's flooding. It was flooding the villages downstream and whatnot. It was a big deal. And so he went in with this loan, and he hired the locals who didn't believe in what he was doing, okay? But he hired the locals to basically terraform the sides of the hills and the mountains and things, and within only 3 years, it was a huge, huge impact, and it was green, and there was mistiness. And when I watched this, I mean, I probably watched it like 30 times, and every time I watch it, it brings tears to my eyes. I like get emotional. I'm like, wow, if we can do this on these levels, why aren't we? You know, we really have the technology and the manpower and the sensibility to do it. And I think that we can. I think that we can start to reverse desertification using some of these fungal methods. Tank Girl. I don't know if you're familiar with that movie. Came out in the 90s. Yeah, it was a comic book, and it was talking about, you know, the world turning into one big desert. You know, I think we can reverse it. What is a myco-hero? It's a person who works with fungi in order to clean and detoxify both soils and water. Also, stimulating microbial activity in the dirt. Yeah, I came up with that, and that's fun. An earth defender. I just think it's fun. So we can use mushrooms to create healthy soils. So in places where we don't have a lot of healthy soil, not only can we invigorate the compacted soils, but we can grow soil very quickly using it's called mycovermiculture composting. So worms love mycelium. And so when we can take compost, whether that's food compost or yard waste and whatnot, and inoculate it with different wood-loving fungi. But if you also add the vermiculture or the worms, they go crazy. They love it. So in places where nature will do this, nature will do a lot of these things on its own. But if we, as humans, put our energy into it, it just hastens the process. And so it's like I get really excited about talking about these things. I don't know if anybody caught Wildcat's talk, but if you get a chance to ever hear him speak on reversing desertification, basically, yeah, watch him. He's brilliant. So using permaculture techniques. So the thing is when I started this journey of learning about all of these things, I had never even heard of the term permaculture. I didn't know anything about it. I just know that I started going, wow, you could grow soil, you could do this, that, and the other. And I was like, wow, people are actually doing this. Jeff Lawton, he's over in Israel. He has a little documentary called Greening the Desert, and he started with compacted flat soils over there, and it's very saline. It's very hard to grow anything in that soil. And he started using what's called a swale. If you're not familiar with what a swale is, it's a ditch. You basically dig a ditch, and then you have a mound, which is a berm, and then you plant different biome, different trees, different levels of trees and grasses and peas and things in order to create an ecosystem. And what they found is, and then you can also like bury like what's called hugelkultur, where you bury the limbs or logs or wood chips, things of that nature, something, but it retains the moisture. And what they found was it was working. They were growing all these beautiful fruit trees and things, but there were mushrooms growing up. And the people over there had never even seen mushrooms because it's so dry. And so they're like, what is this? They thought something was wrong. And then they were like, no, this is a sign that the soil is decomposing properly. And then a light went on in my head. I was like, duh. Why don't we just inoculate it on purpose? Now, I have gone into several farming situations and permaculture type of convergences and stuff, and shown people how to do this method. And instead of just having the hugel culture in the berm itself, you actually dig down into the ditch, and you can create what's called like a lasagna effect. So you're basically doing layers of substrate that the fungi want to eat and consume. So mycelium likes to run, right? So you do like a layer of wood chips, a layer of sawdust, a layer of shredded cardboard, a layer of logs, and you're putting soil in between these things, and you inoculate it. It allows the fungi to eat certain things really fast, right? And then also chew on things like logs. It'll take it a little longer. But it's really exciting to me to see how fast soil can get produced by using this, and how moist the berm and the ditch will stay by doing this. It makes it kind of spongy, and you can do this kind of technique around like trees that are kind of dying off, like say a cottonwood that's not getting enough water. You can create these spongy environments around the root system, and it allows to hold the moisture in and whatnot. But there's just so many, like it's technology. Is it new? Are we just relearning it? But these are like practices that we can allocate in our garden, and we can do it on larger ecosystems as well. So it just makes me really excited. We have mycorrhizal fungi, and if you're not familiar with that, who here knows what mycorrhizal fungi is? I'm just trying to see. Yeah, okay, so 50-50. Okay, so mycorrhizal fungi, they're not mushrooms. So mushroom is the fruiting body, but mycorrhizal fungi, they attach to the root systems. They're either inside of the root system or attached to the outside, and they help bring nutrients to the fungi. And I think it's something like 80 or 90% of plants have these mycorrhizal relationships. And, you know, I find romance in things like these, you know, like, oh, they love each other. The mycorrhizal fungi will feed sugar or nutrients to the plants, and the plants will give sugars back. And so it's like a relationship. And I think it's brassicas that don't have these mycorrhizal relationships, which is interesting. But you can actually inoculate plants with mycorrhizal fungi and get it going. It's really, really exciting when you're like in a desertous environment like this. One time, so I have property down in Terlingua, which is in the Chihuahuan Desert, very similar to this, but a little more biodiverse. And we were cooking a ham outside. We dug a big hole down, and we were gonna, you know, we buried some coals and things. And as we were digging down, I found this, like, I don't know, it was like about that thick, but it was like a web. And I'm like, oh, and it was a mycelial mat. And I realized that each of these plants out here are connected through the mycelium, and it will go like far, like, because I thought we were far away from the plants and stuff. They're connected, and so it just makes me realize, I can kind of almost feel it, that each of these plants are connected to each other through the mycelial web. Very exciting. You can see a difference between the one on the left has been inoculated with mycorrhizal fungi versus the grass on the right that has not. Just it expands the root system quite a bit. So I made this like poster to try to show the similarities. Like, there's patterns throughout the universe, you know, as above, so below, and a lot of things look alike. For instance, on the left here we have an aerial view or a satellite view of London and Tokyo, and right in the middle is like a computer simulation of the internet, and on the right are mycelial colonies. I see a very similar, there's something similar in all of these patterns. The mycelial web, the wood wide web. Again, at the top, that's the some mycelium. It's obviously an artist's depiction. We have neuron cultures, which that's kind of interesting. Neurons look like mycelium to me. And then we have the cosmic web. So I see the similarities, and I don't know, it excites a part of me. It's like we are all so connected in ways we don't even fully grasp, but, you know, it's still exciting. So another epidemic that our planet is facing is our plastic overload. You know, there are two giant areas in the ocean where there's just so much plastic that it's bigger than Texas, right? Like, this is huge. We have plastics everywhere, plastics in our soil, microplastics. And it's really hard to get away from it. And I'm not sure what the answer is. And when I started studying this, they were talking about one mushroom, Schizophilum communi, I believe is how you say it, that would break down fungi. But now they found over 50 different species that break down, what it does is it breaks down the polyurethane in plastic. And something that might take hundreds of years to biodegrade can literally start biodegrading in a matter of weeks. And that's a huge difference. And so to me, like, that's exciting news. This is the kind of news I want to see on Fox, you know. What are we going to do for the plastics? There's this group, and I don't know how active they still are, but they were doing this project called the Fungi Mutarium, where they were taking plastic and inoculating it with fungi and then turning it into something that's edible. Now, I'd be willing to taste it, but at the same time, I'm like, do I want to eat something that used to be plastic? I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting concept. You know, and it just shows that there's a lot of technologies and a lot of information that we're just kind of stumbling on, and that this is a new science. I mean, and as far as I can tell, this is a new science, and in the next 100 years, we're going to be figuring out so much more. So this is just like, this is the baby information, right? And like I said, I'm just giving you guys tastes of information, and then, you know, you can go down a rabbit hole on any of this. So yeah, degrading toxic waste and turning it into food. That's interesting. Mushroom batteries. How many people here have heard that you can use mushrooms, turn it into a battery? Yeah? They're really porous. So it's really kind of interesting. So University of California, they decided to place the synthetic graphite with mushrooms as a good alternative because they're incredibly porous. Mushrooms also happen to have a high potassium salt concentration, which means that over time, even more pores open up in the material, gradually increasing the battery's capacity the more that it's used. Wow, like, okay, so we could have batteries that keep getting stronger. That's kind of exciting, you know? Oh, we're gonna pass you up. All right, so yeah, polyurethane. They found in the Amazon some endophytic fungi, and so this was big news, you know, Pestulatiopsis microspora. Okay, so I couldn't remember this name, Pestulatiopsis microspora, and so I made up a little song about it to try to remember it. It's kind of a mouthful, Pestulatiopsis microspora, but yeah, so it breaks down polyurethane, and there was a study done on it in the American Society of Microbiology. There was one also found, let's see, is this a little video? Here, I'll show it.
New research suggests a fungus could be key to ridding the earth of plastic pollution. Pakistani and Chinese researchers say they've recently discovered a fungus which actually feeds on plastic trash. The fungus, which was found in a garbage dump in Islamabad, Pakistan, breaks down plastic by secreting a certain enzyme. What's more, the process only takes a matter of weeks. According to the World Economic Forum, the fungus, which is usually found in soil, is also capable of living on plastic surfaces. Researchers say the discovery could be crucial to reducing landfill wastes and preventing plastics from entering the ocean.
Pretty exciting, right? You can actually go to Amazon and order cultures. It's like right at your fingertips, right? Yeah. So what's stopping us? Well, I mean, we're all busy people. We only have so much time on our hands. But I do encourage you, if you are taking on a project to break down things and clean up, keep lots of notes. Keep lots of notes and share it with the community, because this is how we learn from one another. Okay, it's really important. Not only does certain fungi break down plastic, but we also can replace plastic using fungi. We can grow mycelium into any shape. I don't know, no, this one's concrete. But if you go to the info booth, there's a little statue, and I do believe it's made out of mycelium. They grew it into that shape. But you can grow mycelium into any shape, whether it's, you know, most of you may have heard of Ecovative. There's a few other companies out there. You can grow it into any shape. There's the mushroom surfboards. They have paddle boards. I need a mushroom paddleboard. Jenny, would you ride on a mushroom paddleboard with me? She would. Okay. Whew. Thank goodness. I thought I was going to have to do it alone. So another epidemic that, I mean, why are there so many oil spills? Sometimes I'm wondering, I'm like, gosh, did they do this on purpose? But seriously though. So oil is very, very thick. But it is organic matter, and fungi break down organic matter. Now the thing is how do you break down oil with fungi? You have to absorb it into something like, well, they were like, I think Paul Stamets did a project where they were using hair and whatnot. See there, I don't know that that's the most sustainable way to do it, but I guess we all have hair, and there's a lot of animals with hair, but hair absorbs a lot of oil, so they'd absorb the oil with the hair and then inoculate that with oyster mushrooms, Pleurotus varieties, and then these fungi break down the oil and turn it into something that's easy to biodegrade. It's really kind of interesting, but you can use almost anything. I'm not sure if hair is the best method, but that's what they were doing. You know, you got to start somewhere. Then there's the Co-Renewal Project. They used to be called the Amazon Myco Renewal Project, and I love the people in this group. So Robert Rawson, I met him at the Sonoma County mushroom camps. He just came and sat down at my table. I didn't know a lot of people there, and I was like a little awkward. Sometimes I get weird and I'm socially awkward. So I sat down at this big table by myself, and I was like, okay, let's see who comes and sits with me. And the most amazing people came and sat down, you know, people I'd never met. And I was like, but this guy, Robert Rawson, and there are two ladies that he said they're the spearheads, Mia and Maya. And they go down to Ecuador Ecuador, and there are Texaco had a lot of oil spills down there, and the government says that they cleaned them up, and they are not cleaned up. There's a documentary about this, and I got a really good interview with him as well as Maya, and the stories that he told me were very disturbing. How they're trying to set up these labs in the jungle, and they're teaching the locals how to clean up some of these oil spills. I mean, the people down there are really sick. There's cancers, there's birth defects. I mean, when I watched the documentary that he showed me, I was like in tears, because I mean, it's really hard to see this. It's like really happening to people. People are devastated. And so they're setting up labs, and they're doing all this really hard work. They're in hazmat suits, because you're like getting into these like toxic, like really thick oil and stuff. And I mean, it can make you sick. And I'm like, these people are doing hardcore work. But they had government officials on 2 occasions come and just totally devastate their laboratories, just knocking them down. They don't want anybody to know that there are these oil spills out there, because they're telling people that it's all cleaned up, but it really isn't.
All my life, I've been fascinated with mushrooms. When I learned that fungi produce enzymes that can clean up pollution, my worldview changed. The realization that living organisms have the capability to restore degraded land and purify water gave me hope. Since 2007, the Amazon Myco-Renewal Project has been collaborating with the Cloud Forest Institute to conduct conservation and restoration research in Ecuador. Our team has led several research trips to Ecuador to document fungi that are capable of surviving in severe petroleum contamination. We've taught numerous courses in mycoremediation and myco-renewal, and developed an inexpensive, easily interpretable plant bioassay to document the efficacy of fungi in detoxifying contaminated soils.
So it's things like that that give me hope for the future. I'm not going to lie. And more people need to know about these things. So another thing, like what she was talking about, is water toxicity. A lot of our waterways are toxic. They've been polluted by agriculture waste, by any number of things, industrial waste. I mean, you name it. And so right here, what they're doing is they have these bags. What are those called? The burlap sacks. And they fill them with straw, and then they're inoculated with usually oyster mushrooms, but now they're starting to work with some of the wild species, which seems to make a lot of sense. Why wouldn't you work with what's there in the environment instead of trying to bring in an outside species or something? And this is called mycofiltration. Trad Cotter has done a lot of work with that, and I'll show you some books too. So here is Alex Dorr. If you want to learn more about mycoremediation, using fungi and bacteria to clean up soil, water, this is a really good book. He has the Mycoremediation Handbook, so shout out to Alex. Really sweet guy, and if you friend him on Facebook, he's really easy about, he'll get back to you if you ask him questions and whatnot. Organic Mushroom Farming and Mycoremediation is another really good book by Trad Cotter if you want to get more in depth. The Radical Mycology, that's Peter McCoy, and it's a really big book as well, and it goes over using fungi to clean up wastes and things. So yeah, there's a lot of resources if you want to learn more. Another epidemic that our planet is facing is disease, and I say and cancer, but I say that because, I mean, cancer is kind of like a big thing. I'm into medicinal mushrooms. Not everyone is. But I have seen it in my life, I've seen it in my family's life and friends' life. And now that I've got the Colorado Mushroom Company, and I get so much feedback from clients that it really touches me when people are telling me that that mushrooms in different ways are helping their ailments, soothing things, making things less painful, clearing your mind, shrinking tumors, helping with eczema, I mean, like any number of things. I mean, the thing is that there is a mushroom for almost every ailment. And I don't just work with mushrooms, I work with herbs as well, because they work together, plants and fungi. So there's a lot of resources if you want to learn more about fungi in general and their usages medicinally. There's the Fungal Pharmacy. That's my go-to book. That's by Robert Rogers, and it is quite thick. There's also Medicinal Mushrooms by Dr. Christopher Hobbs. I just got to meet him recently at the Soma mushroom camps and at the Radical Mycology Convergence. Then there's Peter McCoy. This video is so low, I'm not going to even play it, but he's talking about he was trained, because you can train fungi, to want to consume different things by starving it basically in a petri dish and only feeding it a certain substance, and then you just keep doing that until that's all it wants to eat. And he was doing this with cigarette butts, and his whole idea was that if you could train it to consume cigarette butts, that you could potentially let it go in the wild and it would find cigarette butts and eat it. Now, I don't know if it's happened in the wild, but it's kind of a cool concept. I really like it. He has, every other year, he has the Radical Mycology Convergence, so shout out to Peter McCoy. What is that? Mycosexuals, is that an epidemic? What? Wait a minute, how did these slides get in here? What are these people doing? Who here thinks fungi kind of are sexy? There's a whole Facebook group called Mycosexuals, and people take pictures of themselves with mushrooms. It's kind of, it's kind of randy. There's a 2.0 and a 3.0, so you can join online. Oh. I don't know. With dogs?
Yeah, like dogs and mushrooms.
No, okay, but we're not talking sexually right now. Okay, I was a little worried there for a second. I was like, wait a minute, hold up. All right, here's a disclosure. If you are sensitive to sensual and sexual images, just look away, okay? No, look away. I was doing a talk over at the San Diego Mycological Society's fungus fair, and I showed this, and this lady just yells out, "No, stop!" No, just stop. Oh, delicious. Stephanie Sarley. Okay, she's on Instagram if you want to tap into her. She does all kinds of weird things with fruit and vegetables and fungi. Thanks, Stephanie. So Sunday, I'll be doing a discussion specifically on mushroom aphrodisiacs and nootropics. And so, mentioning that. But yeah, I do show that slide, but there's a lot more to it than that. So, okay, lion's mane mushrooms. Why do I have this slide here like this? But I'm just showing how the cerebellum and mycelium look very, very similar. The cerebellum it looks like mycelium, and it's kind of in the back of the brain there. And yes. Okay, so mushroom brain tonics. So I mentioned here lion's mane, chaga, reishi, and, psilocybe species. But I also, on newer slides, I'll include Amanita muscaria. So that is something I will be going over in great detail on Sunday, is more about Amanita muscaria. That's one, if you have the spirit animal, I think Amanita muscaria might be my spirit mushroom. That is a reishi. That's a weirdo right there. I don't know who he is. Cordyceps. So he's growing cordyceps. Okay. So Paul Stamets. If you have not seen Paul Stamets' TED Med talk on turkey tail, it's maybe about 5 minutes long. It's really worth watching. He gets his mother there up on stage and talks about how she had breast cancer, and one of her breasts was 5 times the size of the other one, and she was, told that she was going to die. And so her doctor told her, hey, there's this mushroom called turkey tail that's been shown to shrink tumors. And then she's like, oh, my son is into mushrooms. So he got her on the turkey tail mushroom, and she actually went into remission. And it's just really a touching thing. I got my mom on turkey tail as well. Everybody get your moms on turkey tail. Get your moms on psilocybin as well. The amazing cordyceps. William went into a lot about cordyceps. There's been a lot of really, really good research on cordyceps, promoting longevity, anti-cancer, and it's also neuroprotective, but it increases libido. And what I just recently, because I guess it raises testosterone levels, which helps in the bedroom, right? And I make some interesting elixirs and things with it, mixed with other aphrodisiacs and whatnot to help with things like that. But what I just recently discovered is that it also, like cordyceps also balances women's hormones. It balances progesterone and estrogen. So I make a women's blend where I use cordyceps. Maitake is another women's mushroom that's really good, and Misema mushrooms. So just take note of that. Another epidemic that our planet is facing is our bees are dying. Well, our honeybees are dying, but it's also affecting our wild bees as well. We've got the varroa mite, and we also have a lot of diseases. But our bees are, our major pollinators. Now, I've had people argue with me about this, and we can argue. I don't really care to argue whether or not it's a big deal for our honeybees to be dying. But honestly, I did a little research on that, and even the varroa mite, even though they might catch a ride on, they'll catch a ride on wild bees, but they suck the life force out of them. They lower their immune systems and whatnot. And Paul Stamets is doing a lot of really good research. I know there's a lot of haters of Paul Stamets, but he's also kind of been a big spokesperson, and he has been working with the red-belted polypore to he says it doubles the life expectancy of a bee. And I just think that's incredible. So in the Pacific Northwest, the red-belted polypore is Fomitopsis panicula. In our Rocky Mountain region, we do have Fomitopsis shrinkii, and that's what I gather. And I work with this mushroom very intimately, and I have seen profound changes in my own health since I started working with it. So Paul talks about its ability to elongate the life expectancies of bees, but it also is incredible for us, and it's highly so it cleanses our liver really, really well. I used to be allergic to cats, and I used to have really bad seasonal allergies. Like every spring, it was just terrible. And when I started, I say the water extracts are really, really strong. I do dual extracts and honey extracts as well, but I will say that water extracts, even though they only last about 5 days in the refrigerator, that's the way to go. If you have the time, if you have the resources to get some of these wild mushrooms and make water extracts, I highly recommend it. I started drinking it almost daily, and I am no longer allergic to cats. And I have very minimal allergies these days. Even being around cottonwood fluff, that would just kill me years ago. I don't have these same allergies, and I contribute it to the red-belted polypore because I'm guinea pigging myself, When I put together this presentation, I was also considering the fact that if you go over like Wolf Creek Pass and then some of our mountains, you'll see that the pines there are dying from the pine beetle, right? And I was like, I wonder if there's a cordyceps for that, Paul has like his patents on using cordyceps to kill, or as a pesticide or insecticide, excuse me. And I was like, well, maybe. And so I went to a talk. Trad Cotter was putting on a talk, and I asked him. I was like, hey, what do you think about the pine beetles? Do you think there's a cordyceps? And he goes, we've already isolated it, Rayne. And I was like, what? So I don't know. I just think about things like I was just taking a dip in the stream down here, and looking at all the Russian olive, you know, how it's an invasive species. And I was like, well, how can we treat that? And I was like, well, what if there was a parasitic fungus that really loved the, you know, the olive, the Russian olive? And I'm like, it's just a question, you know, there might be. All right, what kind of slide is this? Oh, Bioneers.
And as Lenny alluded to, I really believe the solutions are literally underfoot. And they're also endemic to our culture. How many of us who read Winnie the Pooh to our children, or some of you young people here, knew about Winnie the Pooh going to rotted logs to go after the bees? I'm thrilled that I've made this discovery, and I'm also frightened. How is it today that I'm the first one to have made this discovery? We scoured the scientific literature. We had mycologists and entomologists. They've gone to hundreds of conferences. No one's ever mentioned this, even a whisper of it. Bees are attracted to rotting logs specifically for immunological benefit. As part of their host defense of their immunity, they're just not going to a rotted log just because they want to be in a rotted log. There's species specificity factors here that can upregulate their immune system, give them a host defense antiviral shield, allow them to detoxify toxins, and they allow them to be better pollinators.
Thank you, Paul. Gosh. So, can mushrooms save the planet? So, you know, this is a question I'm asking, but what does it even mean to save the planet? Does our planet actually need saving? Or is it the species on the planet that needs saving? I think our planet's doing just fine. We can wreck it as much as we want to, and even if we kill off all of the humans and all of the animals and plants, it's going to continue to do what it does. It's going to clean up after us. So we're at a pivotal point right now that we could make decisions to work alongside of our allies. We could be their ally, but they're our allies. And we could possibly reverse a lot of these things. So that's where I am. And this is just one more little clip of Paul. Thank you, Paul. I give him so many shouts out. I know.
We're going. Hi, Rayne. I applaud your efforts on making your film on how mushrooms can help save the world. And it's just wonderful that people are waking up to the fact that these solutions are literally underneath our feet. And I call it hiding in plain sight. Hips, you know, we are hipsters, right? We have solutions hiding in plain sight. And it's great that there is a chorus of people that are joining the cause because the planet needs us. And thank you for doing the work that you're doing. Take care. Bless you.
Yay. Can mushrooms say, oh, wait, an epidemic. Orgasms aren't an epidemic, are they? I don't know. You know, I went to the Pacific Northwest and I found this really beautiful mushroom called witch's butter. Are you familiar with it?
Well, from here,
you can eat it raw. It's like a jelly fungus.
Beautiful.
It's good for, it's like really mucilaginous. Some of these mushrooms are very interesting. I love the word mucilaginous, by the way. So this is kind of like an interlude, I guess, into my Sunday talk. I mean, I don't really talk about this mushroom, but I don't know. I'm like, what is this? It's like some of these mushrooms are real slippery, and they remind me of, you know, certain secretions, you know. John Holiday, you know, he gets a bad rap. I don't know if you guys know who John Holiday is. He, back in 2001, he did a study on the elusive Hawaiian stinkhorn. Now, I wrote an article about this mushroom, and I have gotten so much backlash. And I have been called crazy. I've had people yelling at me in the crowd. I'm like, what is wrong with people? So supposedly, if you find this mushroom, okay, the whole premise is it's a lore. It's called the women's mushroom, and it's very hard to find, and many people can't find it. Most people can't find it, but supposedly, if you've been good as a woman, if you've been righteous, then the gods will show you this stinkhorn. Now, stinkhorns, if you know anything about stinkhorns, if you smell them, they smell like rotting flesh. They stink. They attract flies, and the flies land on it and they spread the spores. But this particular mushroom, supposedly, if a woman smells it, she has an orgasm. Now, the whole thing is like, oh, how could just the scent of something cause an orgasm? I mean, there's like, come on, people have dreams that cause these things. I mean, you know, you can smell something. I mean, the thing is like pigs let off a pheromone that's similar to that or it's the same pheromone that's found in truffles. So it's like, it's interesting. We're just learning about some of these things. And I asked Holiday, I sent him an email and I was like, well, I'm getting a lot of backlash. I wrote an article about his study and man, he got up in arms. He's like, I used to do all these talks about this mushroom and then people were like hating on him. And he published he did a study where they took, it was all volunteers. It was 16 women and 20 men. And I don't know why it was, you know, off ratios, but every single woman that smelled the mushroom either had an orgasm, euphoric feelings, or their heart rate raised. But every man that smelled it was like, this is disgusting. They smelled the stinkhorn. It was like, ew, this is gross. So, you know, of course, it's mostly men that come at me. It's elusive. So I wrote this article and, but the lady who said she showed Holiday where they grow, she's like, hey, if you want to come down here, I'll show you where it grows. And I'm like, okay. So you know, there needs to be more research about this mushroom. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying whether it's real or not, so don't hate on me. The heart and brain connection. Okay. So we think about the brain as being up here. We do have a brain here, and it runs all of our main functions and whatnot. But the heart has also been shown to hold memory and has this huge electromagnetic force around it. And if you want to learn more about that, you can read, there's a book called Science of the Heart. They also have a website. And so a lot of inspiration comes to me in dream form. I'll wake up in the middle of the night and be like, oh, I have an epiphany. We have the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. And where did that one come from? Okay, some of these are off. Amanita muscaria is very good for the nervous system, by the way.
That's what you're from, because see,
I don't know if you've ever found these beautiful, beautiful mushrooms, but I always get really excited about it. We'll get back to the heart-brain connection here.
But
the Amanita muscaria. So I'm kind of bringing you guys in on a loop, and I'm going to bring you back to square one with the heart and brain connection here, okay? So Amanita muscaria is a psychedelic mushroom. It's the oldest known psychedelic mushroom in history. It grows on every single continent that we know of other than Antarctica. And, you know, who knows? Maybe we'll find some buried in ice. And it's a completely different creature than the psilocybe species. It has different constituents in it. It has muscimol, ibotenic acid, and muscarine mainly. And muscarine, if you know anything about that, is highly deadly in its gas form. But this is in its mineral form. It's very, very small amounts, trace amounts. And it evaporates at 110 degrees. So the thing about muscimol and ibotenic acid is the constituent that causes you to feel nauseated. You start sweating. You don't feel well if you eat this raw or if you don't prepare it properly. So Amanita muscaria, if you ever find it, don't just eat it. I actually have talked to people who like, oh, I'll just eat it raw. And I'm like, okay, you're like, cool. But how did you feel afterward? Well, I kind of feel sick. And this one guy said he was had blood in his stool. And I was like, please don't eat it raw. This is not a good idea. But what you want to do is you convert the ibotenic acid into muscimol. And I'll go more into this on Sunday, different techniques and for both Amanita muscaria as well as psilocybin, how to convert, how to take it, and different ratios. But, wow. Yeah, I didn't include a lot of information on that because I do go into great detail on that. Okay, so we're going to get back into the heart and the brain and heart connection here. So there is a book called Sacred Mushroom Rituals, and it's called The Search for the Blood of Quetzalcoatl. Kind of sounds dark, right? Tom Lane, lovely, quirky man. I got to meet him when I went to the Georgia Mushroom Festival, and he has sent me a couple of copies of his book. This is a really good informational piece if you're interested in the how the Aztecs and specifically the Toltecs. And he studied the Toltecs and their traditional usages and their ceremonies surrounding psilocybin mushrooms, okay? And he calls it the sacred mushroom rituals and the deified heart. And when I talked to this man on the phone for the first time, it was very interesting. There's a lot of knowledge that he was sharing with me that I don't know how I knew. It was like he was sharing with me what I've been telling people about, but I didn't know how I knew it. I don't know if it's a genetic memory or whatever, but it made me really excited, and I have poured through his book so many times. He sent me a bunch of slides and whatnot. But what he said that they do, and one of the rituals that they do, the deified heart one, is they would take psilocybe zapoticorum. So psilocybe zapoticorum is a psilocybin-based mushroom. It's very strong. He says it's one of the higher psilocybin-based mushrooms. And they take it fresh. And he said what they do is they pour honey over it, but it's not honey from a bee. It's honey from the Mexican honey wasp. So there are certain wasps that produce honey. So they pour honey over it, and honey has all these living enzymes in it, and that helps to start breaking down the chitin. It also, as far as I'm concerned, starts to convert psilocybin into psilocin. So it's going to make it stronger. But what they do is they take the fresh mushroom, they cover it in honey, and then they put it in your mouth. You put it in your mouth and you chew on it, but you don't swallow it. So you chew it and chew it and chew it and chew it. And what happens is, you know, your saliva is also going to start breaking it down, but it starts absorbing through the mucous membranes in the mouth. Okay, so yeah, it's going to go to your brain up here faster. But what he was saying is that it goes down the vagus nerve and goes straight to the heart when you do it this way. But you end up spitting out the matter. Okay, so you're chewing the juices out mixed with the honey, and then you spit it out. And he says that it absorbs and it goes down your vagus nerve to your heart, and it's a heart opener. So we're always thinking about like dementia, you know, anti-dementia and things like that with psilocybin. But how about heart opening and heart healing? Because our planet could really use some heart healing right now and heart opening. And, you know, he sent me all these beautiful slides. If you ever get a chance to talk to Mr. Tom Lane, do it. He's from Florida, so he's got a Florida accent. He's like, Rayne, let me just tell you something about these psilocybe zapoticorum. Oh God, I just love it. I love it. Anyway, it's also called the crown of thorns mushroom, and I guess it's really hard to grow in the lab. According to this one website, there are over 567 known psilocybe mushrooms. Alan Rockefeller told me that there's probably close to only about 350, something like that. And some of them are just doubled. You know, they might have more than one name. So he said that this website was not totally up to date. But there are hundreds of different psilocybe species. And each of them are going to be a little different. You know, where do they like to grow? How are they grown in the wild? Are they grown in the lab? Who grew them? On what? What was their intention behind it? Like all the things, right? And I've been asked a lot of questions. I don't pretend to be a psilocybe expert, so I always defer people to Alan Rockefeller. I'm like, get hold of that guy. Another epidemic our planet is facing is housing. There are a lot of homeless people on the planet, right? I mean, when I go to the big cities, I get really disturbed when I go by these camps and things and see how many people are homeless. It's heart-wrenching, especially in the colder weather when it's ice storms and stuff, and I see families outside in a tent on the sidewalk. I'm like, what the hell? But I don't know what to do about it. But the thing is that we can grow, some people are growing mushrooms into buildings, right? You can grow mycelium in any shape. Well, this particular building, it's all oyster mushrooms. So they grew a bunch of food. And then when they harvested the mushrooms, I guess the heat from the sun will automatically start to kill off the mycelium. And what happens is it hardens. Very interesting. So we can grow houses. Okay, that's interesting. The technology's there. I'm not saying that this is like the end all be all, that this is the answer, but like, if we can grow houses, like what the heck, you know? Why are we cutting down trees, you know? There's just a lot of questions that I have. But I think it's really beautiful that we can grow structures that we can live in. The growing pavilion. If you want to learn more about that, look it up. They're doing some really cool stuff. Aw, good job, guys. I don't even know those guys' name, but love them. Then we have, let's see, Eben Bayer with Ecovative. He was growing the insulation inside of tiny houses. So they'd build out the house itself, and they'd put the wires in and the plumbing and whatnot, and then they'd grow the insulation. And the thing about mycelium insulation is that it's very highly fire resistant. So it's my proposal that maybe more houses out in areas where there's a lot of wildfires should have this type of insulation, because it's not only is it really good insulation and it keeps, you know, heat and cold in and out, right? But it's also like, I mean, if you have a fire, I mean, goodness. Okay, so we'll play this video. I play videos.
This building is the first structure we grew entirely using our mushroom material. So it makes up not just the insulation of the walls, but also the structural form of the entire building. And we didn't just add that later, we actually grew it in place. So as we built this up, as if it was concrete forms, we kept adding layers of our mycelium and putting pine boards up. And over the next 2 weeks, inside the wall cavities, which already had wiring in them, already had plumbing in them, the mycelium knit the wall together, glued the tongue and groove pine boards together, and forms the structure, the insulation, and really the meat of this home. It's about 64 square feet, approximately.
So cool, right? I want to grow a mushroom house. Mushroom furniture. I mean, you can grow it into anything, right? I mean, just use your imagination. Mycelium bricks. So this is kind of cool too. It's a totally different thing. I'll show this little video real fast. Fun. This is a fun video, you guys.
Step 1. Collect the mushroom sample. Step 2. Prepare the agar, the gelatinous substance obtained from seaweed. Step 3. Place the mushroom tissue into the agar plate to grow.
Step 4. Prepare the substrate for mushroom expansion. A mixture of agricultural waste, sugar, cat food, and energy drink.
Step 5. Place the mushroom mass into the substrate and allow it to increase in volume. This will take 3 to 7 days. Step 6. Remove the mushroom mass from the jar. Break it up into pieces and place it into a brick mold.
Step 7. Remove the brick from the mold and wait for it to strengthen. This will take approximately 1 week.
Step 8. Once dried, put the brick into an oven to kill the organism.
The mycelium brick is now complete.
Fun. That's Philip Ross, and yeah, he's another brilliant one. Which one is this? All right. I hope I'm not over killing your brain with too much information. That is the brick. The brick, well, I don't know. I think he might be getting into that a little bit much, but that brick is really hard.
And the mushroom still is doing fine.
Just wanted to show that. So those, so yeah, you can grow these mushroom bricks, you know, mycelium bricks. They're not mushroom bricks, but, and they're like very, very good resources. I also have talked to people who are growing it on hemp waste. That's kind of an interesting thing, like hempcrete. So mushroom hempcrete. That's just a fun picture of some friends. Another epidemic could be considered animal cruelty. I mean, even for people who eat meat, I eat meat, but I don't want the animal to suffer necessarily. Mushrooms instead of animals. Muskin. Who here has heard of muskin? I want to get them to send me some samples. They make mushroom leather. So, and I've seen pictures of it, but I would love for them to send me some samples that I could pass around. I think that'd be kind of fun. Yeah, muskin. They're on Facebook. It's all vegan materials, and supposedly it feels like leather. And then maybe you're familiar with mushroom felt. You can take any conch mushroom. Yeah, I've taken reishi mushrooms and sliced it up and put it in my coffee grinder, and it fluffs up like cotton. So that's the first stages of making a felt, right? And so Paul Stamets's hat is made out of mushroom felt, but you can make it into anything, right? So you can use that. This was something I found beautiful. So they're growing little mycelium circles, right? And then they're taking that and making it into a textile dress. I'm like, ooh, if I ever get married, I want to wear a dress like that. I want a mycelium dress. Kombucha leather. Like what? So kombucha has a symbiotic blend of bacteria and fungi, yeasts, and that's what the mother is. But you can take that mother and dry it and turn it into leather. Now, I have to wonder if the wet leather got wet, like would it get slimy, or if your feet are in them. I mean, I don't know. I would like to know. But they're making leather out of kombucha mothers. That's kind of interesting. I put depression, PTSD, and anxiety as an epidemic. I mean, I think most people suffer from some form of anxiety or depression or PTSD in some form or another. And even if it's mild, but I have talked to a lot of people that have a lot of trauma like built up in them. And it's all about our neuro pathways, our regimented patterns in our brains and our nervous system throughout our entire body. And it is my thought that we can reprogram our nervous systems and the way that our daily patterns and things of that nature, utilizing any number of the medicinal mushrooms. And there are studies being done that have been done on psilocybin-based mushrooms. That's why we've had the decriminalization and the legalization in different states and whatnot. And more states are catching on to this. And I really think it's something that should be further studied and further used. I've only seen positive interactions, and as with all drugs or any things that work with your brain and the way that you view the world, it's good to know your own personal limits and also how to utilize these things safely. Mushrooms, psychedelic drugs kill. What? Do they? Maybe some of them do. I mean, maybe people can kill people if they're not in the right state of mind. Denver decriminalized, and now it's statewide. Yay, Colorado. Proposition 122. We love this guy. Okay. Drop spores, not bombs. Okay. These are just fun pictures. Fun pictures. Oh, we love Teresa. Free the jailed mushroom users. I think they're still working on that. So I'm going to give another shout out to the Telluride Mushroom Festival. I won't be there this year. I will be at Dirtwire is having their first annual, they're calling it Dirt Fest, and they invited me to come up to Mishawaka in August and be an ambassador for the mushrooms. They're going to put me on stage with the mushroom, with a microphone and give me like 5 minutes on the mic, And but this is the Telluride Mushroom Parade. If you get up to Telluride, dress up like your favorite mushroom and get involved in the funness. I'll just show a little bit of this. I'm almost done with my presentation. This is so fun, you guys.
Turning this ship around.
We go up and down the entire the entire main street, and dressed like weirdos. People are like, what are they doing? We just love mushrooms.
You guys love mushrooms? We love Oh, we're doing a little circle here. Do you love mushrooms? I love mushrooms. Yay! Do you love mushrooms? I love mushrooms.
Juliana.
Oh, fungi, not just the mushrooms. Just the brooding body. Do you love mushrooms?
There's Trad. He said he was Uncle Smurf.
Doing this. Do you love mushrooms? Do you love mushrooms? Oh,
Makes me want to be there this year. And if you get a chance to go to the Telluride Mushroom Festival, see, that's one thing we need. We need a costume contest or something. It'd be so fun.
All these citizen scientists, you know, we have our scientists and our citizen scientists here today, all having fun. You love mushrooms? She loves mushrooms. You love mushrooms?
Oh, there's Wildcat.
What?
Very well.
You love mushrooms? You love mushrooms?
All right, so that's super fun. That's like a 13-minute video, by the way. So fun. I just love being around fellow mushroom lovers, you know? We got to encourage each other. It's about the mushrooms. Okay, so again, shout out. This is the mycosymbiotic. Is that William Padilla Brown's? He's got, I think he has a festival coming up. So if you tap into, so I'm on Facebook, Instagram, all of the social media. Rayne Grant. I also have Can Mushrooms Save the Planet as a page. As you know, if you want to learn more information, you can reach out to me. And if you have any questions, I can try to answer them, or I can point you in any number of directions. I can give you book sources, video sources. Again, we have the Psychedelic Club of Durango, and we're about to become the Psychedelic Club of the Four Corners area. Yep. Join us on Facebook, please. We got about 2,000 members at this time. Thank you to all our lovely teachers here at the Southwest Funga Fest. I just want to give everybody acknowledgement, the people that showed up to teach and the people who have come to just share and learn and be supportive to this, because I believe this is a movement that is really important to be a part of, and I'm glad to be a part of it. Thank you, Southwest Funga Fest. And yeah, can mushrooms save the planet? It's my question. So that concludes my my talk. And I don't know what they've got going on next, or you know, the time. They told me there is no time, so you know, time is an illusion. But I am here to answer any questions. Does anybody have any questions right off the bat?